Hi, welcome back to the InduSoft Web Studio video training series. In this video, we're going to cover symbols. So in this video, we're going to talk about just what are linked symbols and what does the word linked mean when we refer to linked symbols, talking about the libraries. We're going to talk about what is the difference between project symbols versus your system symbols. And we'll get into custom properties and categories and how that affects how symbols work. And we'll show you how to create your own symbols or modify existing ones and work with the libraries that we already have. So let's get started. Here in the development environment, I've created a screen by opening up my template and saving that as symbols. And then I open up a our navigation screen that we created in a previous video, copied one of the buttons down and made it go to that screen. Before the video got started, I put some text on the screen just to reference while we're talking about this. And we need to talk about a few different things related to symbols. So the first thing about symbols is we have a symbol library built into the product. Let me go through that library. If I double click here on symbols, and we've chosen slider 1 throughout this training, so you can see that we have different sliders here. We have some that are architecture based as far as how you can lay out a network, arrows, buttons, bar graphs, some buttons to point out. We can put a button on the screen for Database Spy to open that up during runtime. We can put a button on the screen that will automatically exit the application. Log on will launch a security system. Notepad will launch Notepad. The hyperlink or the web browser button will launch the default web browser. So on and so forth. And let's see, are there any other really good ones to talk about here? The log win button, which can be found here, will launch the output window, or what's known as log win, so we can do some trace and watch troubleshooting things. Let's go down here to, I'm not going to go through every single one of them. We have some meters. We have some newer meters that we've added into the product within since version 7.0, somewhere in the middle of 7.0, we added some new meters. We have motors in here. We added some new pilot light symbols also. We have some pipes. We added some push buttons as well. And let's see, some switches, a big library of different switches. We have a 2-position and 3-position selector switch, and a lot of different on-off Boolean type switches in different color patterns as well. We have tanks and some other items in there. So now these libraries were created using a combination of InduSoft native objects that can be found under the graphics, the lines, the polygons, things of that nature. In addition to that, some of these are made out of some bitmaps that were created in third-party graphics tools. But to show you the general idea of the symbol feature that we call linked symbols, we're going to go back to the sliders, and we've used slider 1 throughout the rest of the project. So let's bring that in here. Now, when I use slider 1, what has happened is we've taken out of the system symbols, which is the global that got installed with the product of InduSoft Web Studio, and that's created our libraries. Once we've brought it into our project, what that has done is under our project symbols, it has made a slider folder and put that symbol and any other symbols that we've used throughout the project in the project symbols, so that those will get copied with the project and go with the project, so we don't have to copy the entire symbol library. This also now is linked to this symbol in the project symbols library. And what I mean by linked is it's linked by design. And we've done a couple of different things here. When you double click on this, unlike, let's say for example, some other objects that we have in the product, when you open them, the object properties look like this, or look similar to this. They have this drop down and they have different configuration tools. Well, the symbols have a different set of what we call custom properties. And we've defined within the object or within the symbol the custom properties, or the properties that will fill out this column, and the default values that will fill out this column. So you can see here we have max, min, and tag name. Now those were created using this format up here. So here's the property. That'll give us the stuff in this column. The value And it's in square brackets to show that that is optional. You can see here that we have 100 for the maximum, 0 for the min, and we left the value, the default value, off when we created the tag name. And I'm going to dive into this object in a minute and show you how those are created. We also have this category, which is also optional. Notice that this is preceded by a pound sign. Category is optional, but there's a dot there. Property and the colon are not optional, and the value is optional. So here's where the category would show, and we'll get to that in a little bit. So how is this created and used using this format? If we right-click on this symbol and choose Edit Linked Symbol instead of the properties that we were just in, what you can see is now we've opened up a symbol editor. This is not the screen editor anymore. This is the symbol editor. Now this particular symbol, and not all of them are this way, but this particular symbol happens to be grouped. So I'm going to right-click on it and ungroup it, and you can see it explodes it into its individual pieces. And so for here, for example, this little slider, which we've created sliders in the animation video, is comprised of a bitmap that was drawn with a position animation that slides it up and down. You can see here is that format that I talked about. It's pound sign, tag name, and there's a colon there. And here's the minimum, so pound sign min, colon 0, pound sign max, colon 100. And what those do is sets up, we will go back here and look, that sets up these right here. So there was the pound sign max, colon 100, pound sign min, colon 0, pound sign tag name, colon, and then nothing. So that leaves this value field blank. We go back into that editor here. Then so that's the custom properties and how you create those. So that was on the slider. Let's take a look at this display itself. If we look at the text data link, it has just the pound sign tag name in it. So that follows the same tag, whatever is under the custom properties here. Put in the tag name field. So that's the concept of the custom properties and how that menu is created. And you get to create that on your own. Now let's talk about the linked portion of it. How does this link back to this library, and how can we use that to our advantage? Let me close this, and I'm not going to save it because I don't want to make any or save any of those changes. Let me get this little bar graph or this rectangle out of the way. Let's say elsewhere in our product that we've configured this to tie to a tag name called, let's pick from a list here. Let's go in and look at pressure for this one, and then we'll copy this over and change this to, let's see, temperature. So now we have two different sliders that are referencing the same slider in the library from a design standpoint, but now from the tag name that they point to, they will use two different tag names. One uses temperature and one uses pressure, but they're linked together as far as design goes. Now, let's see how we can use that to our advantage. If I right-click on one of these and go into Edit Link Symbol, this opens up our symbol editor again. I can right-click on that and ungroup it. Notice that this is comprised of a lot of different objects. I know that this little rectangle is kind of this inset here. I can right-click on it, open up its properties, and change it from a fill color of, let's say, gray to maybe a bright yellow, make it really stand out. Now, once I've done that, when I save this symbol, it's going to save it here under my project symbols. Then all other symbols in my project that reference that are going to change to this, reference that symbol. So let's see how this works. Let's close this. Do I want to save changes? Yes. It says it's giving me a warning message that it's not going to take effect until we resave all the screens where it's used. And you can choose not to display this dialog box again. I'm going to click on OK. You can see here that it's changed that symbol, but it has not changed the tag names that it references. And if I open up another screen, let's see, I think I've used that on the alarm screen, we can see that it's changed that throughout the product, throughout the project, I should say. What I want to do is I want to change that back, and I also want to show you an error message that you'll get so you can understand this. I have now changed slider 1 in my project symbols, but if I go back to my global system symbols, it is not changed there. I want to go here and open up my slider 1, and if I bring that onto the screen, what it's going to tell me is, hey, you have a different slider 1 in your project. Would you like to overwrite it? So I can choose yes or no at this point and choose to overwrite, at which point the rest of them will become the gray from the system symbols, or I can choose not to. And I'm just going to say, no, I don't want to overwrite that. And I can choose a different name if I wanted to, but I'm just going to not do that at this point. So that's how we can work with the custom properties and the linking portion of this. Let's say you wanted to create your own slider, your own symbol from scratch, or maybe even modify one of these. Let's make our own slider symbol, and we're going to make a very basic one. It's not going to be as fancy as this one. What we're going to do is start here with graphics, and I'm going to choose a rounded rectangle. We draw a rounded rectangle, something similar to this. And then I'm going to put a button on here and turn it into a slider handle, so to speak. Instead of using a bitmap, I'm going to use the native NGSoft Web Studio object. We can see here that it has text on it. I'm going to remove the text, and I could probably get fancy with that and put a little line across it and group that, but for time-wise, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to select on here, and we can notice that down here in the status bar, my current position is 470. And if I move that up to roughly how far I want to slide it, let's say I want to go up to this point, which is 370. That's 100 pixels less than where I had it when it was down here. So I want to move that a negative 100 pixels. So I'm going to turn back to my animations here and apply a position animation to it. And when I open that up, I'm going to tie this to a tag name or a custom property here. So here I'm going to put £. Instead of using tag name like that's in the other symbols, and you want to probably create some consistency here, you might want to stick with tag name or with whatever you choose as far as a naming convention. I'm just going to call it tag value so we can see how this comes out. We'll call it tag value. And here in the value range from 0 to 100, I'm going to do this very similar. We'll have min val colon 0. And here we'll do $max val colon 100. And the position will be from its original position to minus 100 pixels. And don't forget, we need to turn this into a slider so it's an input device. And on input object, we'll say OK there. So now when we slide this up, it should give us a value associated in the tag name that we configure in there. And now maybe we want to display down here the actual value, kind of like we're doing here with the percentage. I'll just put 4 £signs to start, and also turn that into a text data link and put in that same £sign. Let me make sure that I have the exact same naming, £sign tag value. Guess what? I'm glad I did this because I noticed that I left a colon off the end of that, and that is necessary. So I'm going to highlight that and copy that, and come back here to this text data link and paste that in. So it's £sign tag value. And now the last step that's needed to turn this into a symbol is to select all the objects that we want to make into that symbol. In this case, it's all 3, so I windowed around those. I could have selected them by holding down the Shift key and selected them individually. And I can right-click and say Create Linked Symbol. At that point, it's going to give me a choice of where do I want to save this. Now, this is the project symbols within my project itself, not in the global library. So I'm going to open up the sliders, and I'm going to give this a name of, we'll call this slider new, and say save. And now this no longer has the properties of those individual objects. It's a symbol, or it has the custom property. So I can double click on it, and now we can see that that max val came out, the min val came out, the tag value, and if I wanted to, I could stick in the category in here, which we'll get to in a moment. And if I put a tag name in here, let's say temperature, which E-R-A-T-U-R-E, one of those up here is also configured, so we can test it and see if it's working. And we'll say OK. And now we can save this and run it. And when we get to our navigation, go to Symbols. We should be able to slide that up Let's see that value change and see how it's linked and referenced there. So that's the basic ways that you can create your own library. Now what I'd probably do is get a little bit more fancy and put a scale on there, and maybe even go as far as creating one more thing up here. We can add some pound signs, and let me make sure I have enough pound signs here. With that many pound signs, I will, oh, you know what? I'm not in the symbol editor, so let me copy this or cut this. And to edit this, just like any other prefabricated symbol that we've made for you and created the library, I can edit these by going in and edit linked symbol, and that symbol editor will open up. This is not grouped. These are still retaining their individual identities. I can paste that piece of text in, and let me go into that piece of text and tell it to center justify that, so that'll center that on there. Drop that down a bit, and we'll configure this as a text data link, but we're going to create a new item here, a new custom property that will be called label, colon, and I'll put in quotes, label, close quotes. And now when we save this, and during the configuration we can see label here, and inside of quotes I'm going to put temperature. And now during runtime we should be able to see that that's labeled. I have to run this actually, and we can see that that is labeled with the word temperature on there, so we can see that that's comes out. Now let's see how the categories fit in. Let's say one of these was related to a set point and one of them was actual. What I can do is add in the categories. So let's copy this over here. No, let's do this. Let's go into this object, right click on it, edit linked symbol, and from within this one, let's say that we want to make this slider reference the set point, which in here I can optionally put the category name. We'll call this set point, and dot. Now that will be the set point for that, so that's following that format that I posted on the screen earlier, that can also be found in the help system as well. And then let me go into the actual down here, and we'll put actual dot tag value. And now when I save this and we go into this, if I right click, edit link symbol, get out of that. When I double click on this, we can see that I have my actual, there's my tag value, my set point tag value, and then I can display properties from all categories here that will show me my actual, my set point, and then everything else. The ones where I did not specify a category, it automatically sets up as main. So if I uncheck this, you'll see that going back to just those. Another thing to point out is there are symbols within our symbol libraries that can be scaled. Some scale better than others. By default, we have this checkbox checked that says use linked size. If we want to scale a symbol, you can uncheck that, and then you can scale your object. The problem with objects that have position animation, they're referenced by set number of pixels. That does not automatically scale. So if we scale this little handle, this little slider is not going to slide anywhere near where it is needed based on how we've scaled this. So we would have to go in and edit this and convert the number of pixels, maybe from the 100 that I originally put in here to 200 or something. But some objects that don't have position animation scale very well. Something else to point out, if I want this to no longer be a linked symbol, I can tell it to unlink this linked symbol. It will only unlink that one, and now it has put it back to its original native object, and it's no longer linked to the project symbol here as well. Now let's say that we've made a slider, or a symbol I should say, that we want to keep, and we want to put it into our system symbols. we provided a convenient way to do that. You can select the line item or the symbol itself and right-click, and here you can put Send to System Symbols. At this point, it'll open up the install folder where Intusoft Web Studio is installed, the symbol folder, and here we can pick, okay, we want to put this in sliders, we want to say slider new, give it a different name, and now when we choose from our system symbols, that new slider will be available in our system symbols. There's nothing special to the way that we right-click and do that. If you create a bunch of individual symbols, you can go into your project, copy all those symbol files all at once, the .sym files, and just go paste them into your system symbols folder. So there's nothing special about the right-click mechanism, and sometimes if you're creating a lot, it's a little bit easier to go into your project symbols, copy them, go back into the install folder and paste them if you're doing a lot all at once. So let's see, we've covered the concept of how they're linked and tied to the design in the library. We've talked about the difference between the system symbols and the project symbols. We've talked about creating custom properties and how you can edit those lists. We've talked about changing them and how they change throughout their throughout your project, and how to unlink them and kind of explode them back into their individual components. And so I think we've covered everything for symbols. Hopefully this was informative. Thanks, and have a great day.